Hello, everyone. It has been a while. I appreciate you all joining me this fine Friday evening. So, I'm sure many of you have probably already heard about this. If not, just a quick summary here. So, for the last several months, apparently there has been a lawsuit going on behind the scenes between Ohmwrecker and H2O Delirious. Ohmwrecker, of course, formerly I guess part of the Vanos crew, although he wasn't one of the key players there in that group, but was a part of them for a point in time. And he has recently filed suit. As you all know, last year, that was when there was the big kerfuffle, right? With the whole allegations, when he went on Drama Alert and told Keemstar about the allegations against H2O Delirious, of which nothing has been, I would say, thoroughly substantiated as of yet. It's really just allegations at this point. Nobody has been able to provide any kind of hard evidence outside of him admitting to, of course, as we all know, the infamous phone call between him and the minor, which he said he was tricked. Who knows what the truth is there? I mean, it's always going to be his word that he didn't know. That's pretty much left up to speculation, whatever it is that you want to believe in that particular instance. And of course, some other things that were brought to light, of course, being the Twitter accounts, some of the Twitter accounts that he was using to essentially um, run gay ops on. Right? There's no better way to put it. He was doing some kind of gay op stuff because he was at odds with Ohm. So, hey, what's going on, people in chat? Let me just quick shout out to let's see who we have in chat. I like Blue Fire, Stephen, Gervais, Anna, Italo. How y'all doing? Appreciate y'all joining. But just to give a little bit more of a background, yeah, that's really what kicked off everything, right? Was the whole allegations that came out on the Drama Alert episode, and the thing was, what escalated everything also was, obviously other people talking about it, but it just basically degraded into each one of them going into people's chats, like myself, like TJV's chats, just them kind of going back and forth at each other, making accusations towards each other. And then it got to a point where then, of course, Diller's account got suspended. He claims it was because of spam and stuff like that. Ohm claims it was because the stuff he had been saying held merit. Who knows? Um, without any kind of hard evidence, I mean, it's always going to be one of those things that's speculated on as well. I mean, really got to kind of draw your own conclusion from it, I guess, in that regard too. Although, again, Ohm would claim otherwise, but again, I haven't seen anything from his side that proves unequivocally what he has claimed. It's not to say that it's not true. He very well could have something that he either can't show, but to me, I believe it's more of a matter of he just chooses not to show it. That's just my own opinion, though. But it is what it is. We're gonna go over some court documents now. I will preface everything by saying that I did go ahead and do some redactions on these documents for obvious reasons. They do contain the full names of the parties involved, their legal names and stuff like that. And it also contained, information like, home addresses and stuff like that. So I wanted to redact all that stuff, even though it's in public record. So technically, I mean, it wouldn't be really doxing because it's all in public record. It's all accessible. If for those of you that would want to access the information, you'd be able to. But for the sake of this video and stream and future streams, I will be redacting stuff like their names and stuff like that. I'll be referring to them obviously as Ohmwrecker or H2O or just Ohm. Either referring to Ohm as just Ohm or Ohmwrecker. It's the same thing with Delirious as either H2O or just Delirious. But you will notice that. You will notice that there's certain spaces in these documents that are just completely blanked out. That's because I did that. I went ahead and redacted them, and also because Ohm is the type of person that would probably try to take a video down, even though his name has been publicly known for a while now, right? It's not a secret. And like I said, it's all on public record, but I could see a scenario where he would probably try to take the video down or the stream down because of that. But even outside of that, I would have done it anyways, regardless of whether or not he would try to take it down, just because YouTube and how strict they are with their rules and things like that. So even though, like I said, it's all part of public record, just in case, I would have done that anyway. So just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. And we'll go ahead and just get right into it here. Let me just go ahead and pull it up. Orphan Wrecker's at it again. He's up to some shenanigans, I will say that. But let's go over here to, where's the first one here? I think this is the first one. This is the first one. Yeah, this looks to be the first one. So, yeah. So if you find basically you could use the case number to find this, find this document yourselves. But as you can see here, it's blanked out. Plaintiff versus defendant. Of course, Ohm is the one that filed this. He filed this in Illinois, so he's the plaintiff. So like I said, we'll read through it. And like I said, as we go on, I'll give some thoughts here. Now, another thing I should say right off the bat, obviously, I'm no kind of legal expert. A lot of this is just going to be from my own layman's perspective and my really basic understanding of certain laws and stuff like that. But this is no kind of professional opinion. These cases can go either way, depending on, of course, how well these attorneys present the case. Even though it might seem super frivolous to a lot of people that it's just Ohm, and it does. You'll see that throughout the course of me going over these documents, it does seem like, at least in my opinion, that Ohm is trying to throw a bunch of stuff out and see what sticks. But you never know how a judge might see that. A judge might see merit in some of these claims. Things could go his way, just like the opposite is true, right? That things could go Delirious his way, right? So you never know how these things are going to shake out. We just have to kind of, take it step by step and see where things go. So here we have it. So it says, now comes plaintiff, professionally known as Ohmwrecker, by and through his attorneys, and that's his attorney, Huck Boma PC, I guess Boma PC, and for his complaint against the defendant, professionally known as H2O Delirious, here and after, states as follows: this is a diversity action asserting Illinois state law claims for false light defamation per se, defamation, tortious interference with prospective economic advantage, and intentional infliction of emotional distress as a result of defendant's harassing conduct and publication of defamatory statements regarding plaintiff that are false, harmful, and offensive to plaintiff. Okay, so this is kind of what I would have expected Ohm to file under, right? Defamation per se, defamation, because of the things that Delirious did say about him. Although not, I don't think he did say some of the things publicly when he still had Twitter. But so has Ohm, right? Ohm has said some pretty, what I would consider be pretty defamatory things as well. And what I'm pretty sure the law would probably say is pretty defamatory things as well. Now, the interesting one to me here is the tortious interference. That's the one where I don't think that, unless there's something that Ohm has that he can prove, behind the scenes that somehow he lost some kind of, sponsorship deal, or can show that due to Delirious's interference that he lost some kind of big money making deal as a result of Delirious's interference. That one I think is going to be pretty hard for him to prove, because I haven't seen at least anything publicly that would help this claim, the tortious interference claim. And for those of you that are wondering what is tortious interference, basically tortious interference is, I'll read the definition here. It's interference is a common law tort allowing a claim for damages against the defendant who wrongfully interferes with plaintiff's contractual or business relationships. So I'll give you an example of tortious interference. So there was, if you guys, I don't know if any of you are familiar with this, but a few years back, Diversity in Comics, now known as Comics Matter with your boy Zach, filed a lawsuit against comic writer Mark Waid. And there was kind of there was merit there for a tortious interference claim, because Mark Waid literally called Arctic Press, which is an independent comic book publisher, and basically your boy Zach, aka Diversity Comics, had a deal with Arctic Press where he was going to go through them to print his graphic novel, his Jawbreakers graphic novel. Because of Mark Waid actually calling them up, they ended up pretty much just dropping Zach. So that was a prime example right there of tortious interference, because there was a contract involved, and because of the interference of another party, that being Mark Waid, Zach lost that contract. He lost that opportunity to work with Antarctic Press, and it was pretty much that pretty much screwed everything up for Zach. Then, but not so much, because then Zach went ahead and did a crowdfunding campaign, and he probably got way more money than he ever would have gotten from Antarctic Press. So in a sense, it did kind of go his way a little bit better because of it, but it's still that's an example. That's a good example of tortious interference right there. Oh, Dev, thank you for the 5. I appreciate it. Do you think Ohm is just doing this for the optics? I think that there's a couple things here. I think that Ohm is hoping that him doing this will he'll hope. I think he's doing it hoping that something will actually stick and he'll actually be able to get some money out of it. But I think it also is partly that there probably is some optics behind it, because think about it like this. For a lot of people, if they see you go to court, even if it's not like a criminal trial but a civil trial, they see you win a case, I think that he believes that optically that will give his the allegations he made more merit. It'll make him look more credible in the public eye, because he'll be able to say, hey, look, I went to court against them and they sided with me. I won. So if I won, that has to, you have to look at that and think there must be some merit to the things that I've been saying about Delirious. You have to believe me. There has to be some things that I've been saying that have been true, right? Because I want a court case, and I think that that's part of it. And maybe that's not, maybe for him it's just a matter of he really feels like he's been wronged in this scenario, and this is the only means he has to really get justice for himself in the situation. Because Ohm's the kind of guy that would say something like that. He's the kind of guy that would put it out there like that. Like, hey, look, I'm just doing this to defend myself because I'm sick of all the stuff. And I just, this is my way of fighting back. He's the kind of guy that would say something like that. So, but here's another thing too to consider. He might be doing this just to get through this discovery. You know why? Because if he gets discovery and he's able to get private DMs between Delirious and other people, he could win in the court of public opinion, right? Especially if he gets a lot of DMs that he could put together in either a video or just put out there publicly and paint the narrative that he was right all along about the things that Delirious is doing behind the scenes, right? So there might be that. That could be a possibility as well. I don't know. I'm just saying, that's obviously just me speculating. So let's continue on here. I'll probably just go over one document tonight, maybe 2, because I only plan on going till about either a little bit before 10 or around 10 will probably be the cutoff. Don't want to go too hard into paint with this stuff. But because I have all the documents, just so you all know. So I will be doing a couple streams just going over all this stuff. I'm going to be going over the most pertinent stuff because some of the filings are just like one document filings where it's just like a notice of, a particular filing being done, things like that. So, those will probably just be mentioned, but the heavier stuff like this initial filing and a couple others, I'll probably be going over some of that. I won't be going over stuff that is just repetitive because there is a lot. I did kind of skim over some of these things, and there's a lot of repetition with them. So you'll have to bear with me on that, because you'll notice that a lot of these legal documents say, have a lot of the same language, say a lot of the same things, and it's reiterated over and over again. So we'll try to get past all that as quickly as possible so it's not too monotonous. But we'll continue on from here. So it says here, parties. Plaintiff is a citizen and resident of the state of Illinois. Now that being Ohm, right? Upon information and belief, defendant is resident of state of North Carolina who resides at, and this part was redacted because this was actually a home address. So I redacted that. because obviously we're not going to put that out there. Like I said, even though it's public information and people can find this stuff, but that to me was interesting, that the whole address was put into this document. I found it to be interesting. So it said this court has jurisdiction over the subject matter of the action pursuant to 28 USC 1332. As this is an action between plaintiff, who is citizen of the state of Illinois, and defendant, who is citizen of the state of North Carolina, in the amount in controversy exceeds $75,000. So this is the minimum that he's looking to get out of this, it seems. Ohm, right? He's looking to get 75 grand. So here's another thing I'm going to point out too, right? Which I find this is interesting, that he filed this in the state of Illinois, that being Ohm's home state. Delirious obviously resides in North Carolina. It's interesting that he thinks that the jurisdiction, for the subject matter is in the state of Illinois. This is online stuff, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. And honestly, the best approach to this, I think, would be for Delirious's attorneys to file a motion to dismiss on jurisdictional grounds, right? Because he doesn't live in Illinois, and unless he has active businesses in Illinois, or has some kind of secondary resident in Illinois, which I don't believe he does, I think that would be the easiest way, right? And the thing is, we don't have a situation like, the other thing too to note, North Carolina, to the best of my knowledge, doesn't have any anti-SLAPP laws that I could find. Anti-SLAPP would basically be like in California or like in Texas. If you file anti-SLAPP, what that means is that you could file for a motion to dismiss based on the fact that, hey, so-and-so is a public figure, and what I said about him is protected under freedom of speech, although that would be pretty hard for even Delirious to prove in this situation. I'm just being honest, because of the fact that Delirious did say pretty much the same things that Ohm said about him, right? So that's where it gets kind of stupid. They both kind of said the same shit about each other, that they were both, Delirious said that Ohm's a pred and all these other things, and Ohm has asserted the same exact things. So to me, it seems like both of those claims against both of them would cancel each other out, right? They're just as bad. But again, it all depends on how the judge proceeds the case, or how she perceives the case, because I believe it's a woman judge, if I'm not mistaken, how she perceives the case and how the attorneys present it, right? So upon information and belief, this is Delirious is subject to personal jurisdiction in the state of Illinois, as he regularly transacts business as described below within the state of Illinois, and committed tortious acts within the state of Illinois, including defamation per se, false light, intrusion upon seclusion, tortious interference with prospective economic damage or advantage, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Okay, so that to me, like I was saying before, I don't see how his attorneys can possibly prove that, because Delirious was not in the state of Illinois when he was saying these things. Delirious is pretty much a shut-in, right? Now, it's online. I mean, but again, he's still at his home when he's saying all these things, right? Whether it be through Twitter, whether it be through somebody's YouTube chat or whatever, he's doing it from his home. So unless there's some way they can, make a compelling enough case for the judge to see it as it, that it is relevant in the state of Illinois, I don't think the tortious interference claim is really going to go anywhere. I mean, if it was a situation where Delirious happened to be at a convention in Illinois, right, in Chicago or something, and he was a part of a panel and he was defaming Ohm, saying a bunch of shit about Ohm, then I think you might have an instance where you can prove that, right? Especially if it's caught on tape, right? Hey, this is from C2E2, which is, a big convention over there at in Chicago, right? Here's a panel of Delirious defaming my client. This was just last year as a part of a panel. He's saying defamatory things and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And while he was here, he also hit up some of my client's sponsors, some of the local sponsors here, and interfered with contracts that he had with them. So I don't know. So it's just a matter of, I guess, on how the judge would perceive that. So we're going to continue on here. Venue is proper in the district pursuant to 28 USC 1391 because many of the acts giving rise to, now this is Ohm's claims, occurred in this district. See, again, I don't think that that's how that works. Because, I mean, Ohm being at home and being online and being online when these things are being said is not the same, right? It's not the same. Like, Delirious is not over there. You know what I mean? If they both lived in the same state, then I think you have an argument. But again, I don't think this is not one that I think will go through. I think Ohm is more likely to have the claims of the defamation. I think that's more likely to go through than any of this tortious interference stuff. You know what I mean? So give me one moment, folks. All right, there we go. Just had to shut something off real quick. Okay, so it says here, a plaintiff is a video creator that produces, hosts, and publishes videos on streaming sites such as YouTube and Twitch. The content of plaintiff's videos include plaintiff playing various video games, both by himself with other video game streamers. Plaintiff is professionally known as Ohmwrecker and has purposely kept his image and real name private. Okay. So the same argument obviously could be made for Delirious. As I said before, Delirious is a shut-in. He's never gone out there publicly, has never done any conventions or fan meetups with any of the Vanoss crew. He's gone to great lengths to try to keep at least that aspect of his identity, private, right? What he looks like and things like that. So what's interesting though is, the thing is, Ohm's identity is already known publicly. We all know about the Kiwi Farms stuff. Years ago, Kiwi Farms had a whole thread on him with pictures of him, with his docs and all that stuff. That's something that has come up with this whole tiff between Delirious and Ohm. So it says here, plaintiff has millions of fans and followers in the United States around the world who follow his work and his social media profiles. Plaintiff has approximately 2.34 million subscribers on YouTube, 729,000 followers on Twitter, 492,000 followers on Twitch. Defendant is also a video creator that produces, hosts, and publishes videos on streaming sites such as YouTube and Twitch. The content of defendant's videos also include playing various video games both by himself and with other video game streamers. Defendant is professionally known as H2O Delirious. Defendant has millions of fans and followers also around the world who follow his work and social media profiles. Defendant has approximately 13.3 million subscribers on YouTube, 128,000 subscribers on Twitch. Defendant's Twitter account has approximately 4.4 million followers prior to the account being suspended for violation of Twitter rules. And that's something we'll get into too as well, right? The whole suspension. So it says here, in the past, plaintiff and defendant have streamed together and uploaded collaborative videos, including each other. Plaintiff and defendant are in the same line of business and share a substantial amount of mutual followers. I'm not sure how much that is true anymore, but maybe. I'm sure maybe they still do to a very small degree. So prior to March of 2021, plaintiff heard allegations of defendant being a pedophile. So here we go. We're going to get into the thick of it now, right? As you can see, this is only the third of 24 pages. That's what I'm saying. We'll probably only do this one document, maybe one other one after this, because a lot of this stuff, honestly, that's going to be outlined here is stuff that we already kind of know, but just so you guys get an idea of what it is that Ohm is going for here, right, with this lawsuit. So, let me see. When plaintiff confronted defendant about these allegations, defendant denied the female involved was a minor and falsely stated that a different adult female was the subject of the allegations. So this is interesting, right? Because this is why I believe, for those of you that didn't know about this either, apparently there was some subpoenas that went out to certain people on Twitter to basically try what appears to be, an attempt by Ohm's attorneys to get private communications between people, which I believe that's what he feels is going to substantiate this claim, right? Is this outside of whatever, DMs he also has with Delirious, but I think he's also using that to probably substantiate claims like this, right, with other people. Especially if he's able to try and get a hold of the alleged people involved, right? The person, I forget the girl's name, the Brie Lynn or whatever. If they're able to subpoena her or whatever to see if there's anything left that she might have, right, in regards to communications with Delirious to show whether or not, he did know her age and things like that. So in March of 2021, plaintiff spoke to the individual defendant identified and found out that a different individual was the subject of the allegations against defendant, and that individual was a minor at the time of sexual interactions with defendant. She also informed plaintiff about defendant having sexual interactions with other minors and releasing RP against her. Interesting. On March 31st, 2021, plaintiff shared with a private group of mutual friends that this individual had such allegations against defendant. In April of 2021, defendant learned through the group of friends that plaintiff discussed these allegations and began deleting thousands of tweets. In April of 2021, defendant contacted plaintiff denying the allegations regarding the sexual allegations or interactions with minors, as it was clear that defendant was lying. Plaintiff blocked defendant on social media accounts. In retaliation, defendant began a malicious campaign to paint plaintiff in a false light in the online streaming community and destroy plaintiff's reputation. Upon information and belief, defendant became obsessed with stalking and defaming plaintiff, causing him severe emotional distress. I think it seems funny because it seems like, right, you see this and it seems like Ohm was doing the same thing, right? At least if you look at it from an outsider's perspective, it looks like they were just, in my opinion, it looks like it was tit for tat, them going at each other. So, okay. Upon information and belief, defendant became obsessed with stalking, and defaming plaintiff and causing him severe emotional distress. And who knows, that could be true. Who knows, right? Because Ohm seems like the kind of guy that might have some issues like that. I think he's talked about it publicly before. But it says here, upon information and belief, defendant has created numerous new accounts under false names, fake profiles to harass plaintiff and to post defamatory statements about plaintiff. On May 16th, 2021, Twitter user Ryan, however many numbers, suspected to be defendant, posted threatening to expose a compromising video of plaintiff and a woman from 16 years prior. On May 17th, Twitter user Hopper981, suspected to be defendant, began direct messaging plaintiff's Twitter followers the following statement. He has released a sex tape that he made long ago. He received so much hate from phone calls because they said she was underage. He is not a good person. On May 23rd, 2021, plaintiff engaged in an interview on a YouTube channel called Drama Alert and mentioned that he had heard allegations of defendant having sexual engagement with minors and releasing RP. So we all remember this. This was, the infamous Drama Alert interview with Keemstar, where he not only mentioned Delirious, but we also know that he mentioned Louis' situation. I believe that situation was mentioned first, and then he really kind of hyper-focused on the Delirious stuff. So in response, defendant posted false and defamatory statements to his 4.4 million follower audience on his main Twitter account regarding plaintiff. On May 23rd, 2021, defendant published the following on his Twitter account. Screw Ohm, that manipulative piece of shit. He's not the saint he claims. All his lies and twists because two groups decided they didn't want to play games with him. Allegedly did the same thing to Mark Plier. Now, for those of you that are not sure what's being referred to there, so supposedly, and this happened all behind the scenes. This did not happen publicly, to the best of my knowledge. Ohm used to play with Markiplier and I believe Jacksepticeye, if I'm not mistaken. He used to play with, he was part of their group. And my understanding of the situation was that behind the scenes, not publicly, but behind the scenes, he had told Jacksepticeye that Markiplier was supposedly messing around with underage girls, supposedly, or that he had heard that he was messing around or he was conversing with or something. He had concerns about Markiplier talking to underage girls. Now, this has never been, to the best of my knowledge, I've never seen anything publicly or anyone come out against Markiplier to corroborate this claim. I've never seen anybody make any kind of allegation like that towards Markiplier as of yet. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it's not out there. Don't know. Never seen anything like that. From what I've seen, Markiplier seems to have a pretty squeaky clean, image from what it looks like. It's not to say that, again, anything's within the realm of possibility, but it doesn't seem like any of that held any kind of merit whatsoever. So, and it seemed like that basically got him promptly kicked from that group. So constantly had Ohm in my messages every day with some crazy questions and paranoia or blaming me when it wasn't my game sessions because people didn't like him. And this is what he does. Defendant posted several screenshots of edited conversations with plaintiff and baselessly stated plaintiff was engaged in blackmailing defendant. On May 26, 2021, defendant published the following on his Twitter account. Ohm edits his own videos and saves things he can use against friends later on. As you can tell from his last tweets, stay away from him, in my opinion. Ohm is currently showing all creators and streamers why you should not play with Ohmwrecker. He will save everything no matter what. Stay away from him. This is Ohm. He's conniving, petty, and completely obsessed with us. I just want him to leave me and my family alone. And look, if you look through some of the messaging that's been put out there by not just Ohm, but by some of the stuff that Delirious put out, it does seem, again, in my opinion, it does seem like there was some sour grapes there. But it's not to say that there's not stuff without merit. So let's continue on here. Ohm is currently showing all creators and streamers why you should not play with him. Okay. And then it says here, this is Ohm. He's conniving, petty, and obsessed with us. I just want him to leave me and my family alone. You haven't even seen the cartoons group side of craziness. I'm sure everyone has a book of his ranting in their DMs that he's played with. No matter what, he is not someone to connect with, in my opinion. Defendant posted. You get the picture of how crazy this guy is, with a screenshot of a conversation with plaintiff where defendant's statements were deleted so that it appeared plaintiff was talking to himself. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, right? I don't know if that's true if Delirious retroactively did that. I mean, I believe those were Discord messages, and it is possible to do that. It is possible to delete the messages that you send on Discord. So it's possible. It's possible that he could have done that to make it look like almost talking to himself. There's no way to know for sure. Like I said, if it gets as far as discovery, I guess we'll find out for sure. But let's see. We're on here now, 35. Soon after, beginning in May of 2021, several women approached plaintiff regarding defendant's relationships with them as minors. Specifically, the females advised plaintiff that defendant had sexual exchanges with them, including being groomed and manipulated into sending defendant nude photos, videos, and video chats while they were minors. These individuals provided plaintiff with evidence to support their claims, including the reports submitted to the FBI. So this is one that we've heard for a while, right? And nobody is expecting, obviously, any kind of videos or pictures of those to be shared with anybody. Of course, they should not be. That should be something that absolutely goes to law enforcement. But one of the things that I always said, and I still stand by this, is that if he had at least shown any kind of messages, any kind of DMs between Delirious and any of these quote unquote victims, right? Where they talk about being underage and Delirious acknowledging that they're underage and things like that, then you have something there that I believe is a lot more tangible, right? Because you're putting the guy in a position where it's like, okay, how do you respond to this, right? That puts him in a position. It's like, okay, it's going to be hard to explain away when this person told you multiple times, hey, I'm only this many years old, and they're still saying, well, hey, send me nudes anyways or whatever, right? Then, Delirious would have a serious problem, but none of that has ever been produced, right? And we have some of these victims claiming, oh, well, I did have all these messages, but I deleted that account a long time ago. And it's like, oh, well, that's awfully convenient, right? The stuff that you say would absolutely 100% prove, words, again, not pictures or videos or anything like that, but DMs that would prove what you're saying is true, or at least give merit to what you're saying. You don't have it. So it's just like, yeah, got to take it with a grain of salt, right? So this is on June 8th, 2021, defendant published the following on his Twitter account. Stop harassing people you don't know, asking questions about me. You're scaring people with your manipulative speech pattern. He's DMing people he doesn't know to get any info he can to hurt people with. They said he sounded so manipulative. Defendant continued posting blatantly defamatory statements regarding plaintiff and statements to portray plaintiff in a false light. On June 18th, 2021, Twitter user Ohmwrecker, later renamed DM Me for Truth, confirmed to be defendant, posted the following. Now, this is confirmed to be true because remember, in the Liz Katz video, this was one of the accounts that she said was indeed Delirious, right? We do know that Delirious, there were some fake accounts that Delirious had made, which this is what I was saying earlier, where he kind of pulled his own gay ops, right? Where he decided that he was going to combat Ohm this way, which was the stupidest thing he probably could have done, right? Now, as to his Twitter account being suspended because of all the accounts that Ohm said were Delirious, which that's one thing that is yet to be proven, right? We don't know unequivocally if all the accounts that Ohm claims or suspects of being Delirious were actually Delirious, because he reported so many accounts, right? He cast a pretty wide net. And the biggest account that I know that he was going for, saying that was the one that would be the silver bullet, was the Ray Harpy account. If you all remember, that was the one that supposedly threatened the girl that had the baby and whatever, threatened the baby, which that was never unequivocally proven to be Delirious, right? So, but you could, I could see where you could make the case where, well, look, if these were, why wouldn't that one be him also? Who knows? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it's never been unequivocally proven that it was him. So just putting that out there. So plaintiff was getting death threat calls about a sex tape he leaked on a torrent site. They were saying that the girl he had sex with was underage. Look it up. He tried so hard to hide the tape. I'm telling anyone who tweets to him, Ohmwrecker manipulated everyone. On July 13th, 2021, plaintiff through his counsel sent a cease and desist letter to informing the defendant's actions were inflicting severe emotional distress and promoting harassment of plaintiff and persons related to plaintiff. The letter demanded the defendant do the following: immediately cease and desist from publishing or republishing any defamatory statements regarding plaintiff, including engaging in any direct messages or chats with such statements. Immediately withdraw and retract every defamatory statement defendant posted regarding plaintiff and publicly clarify that such statements were false. Immediately cease and desist from publishing private information regarding plaintiff and persons related to plaintiff. Immediately cease and desist from promoting harassment of plaintiff, and publish a statement instructing H2O's fans to immediately cease threatening plaintiff and persons related to plaintiff. Now, that's one thing that I thought was, this is one of the things I've always thought was interesting, is that obviously, as far as I can see, at least in this regard, I don't think Delirious or anybody else ever did that. This part of the Van Os crew anyways, that actually, did any kind of targeted harassment campaign like that where they were threatening him. But I guess the argument, and I'm going to be charitable, I guess, here a little bit to him. I guess the argument could be made that by him making these accounts own light and telling people to DM him for the truth, maybe possibly they could make the argument that that's kind of a kind of wink wink nod way to maybe possibly incite kind of harassment because of what he might say through DMs. But again, you'd probably have to get all those chat logs, right, from all those people, and I believe that that's also probably why he's subpoenaing so many people, right? Anybody that Delirious hit up through these accounts, right? So, and the thing is, where Delirious kind of messed up too, and where it kind of looks that way as well, is that he is encouraging people to go find like this video on him, right, and go find information, which again, that's where he messed up. So again, it could be argued that in a sense, yeah, even if it wasn't in the public space, but privately behind the scenes, yeah, it could encourage, harassment and things like that. Now, obviously he didn't threaten or anything like that, but the other stuff, trying to find like dirt on him essentially. Yeah, maybe. The letter specified that the aforementioned demands applied to accounts created by defendant under false names. The letter also included a demand to preserve evidence, including all documents, communications, social media postings, direct messages, and social media and messaging accounts created by defendant relating to the claims referenced by plaintiff. Defendant disregarded these demands and continued his campaign of stalking, defamation, and harassment against Ohmwrecker. So another thing I will say about this, right? They both sent each other cease and desist orders. Neither one of them honored them. Neither one of them honored them. So just to put that out there, they both sent each other cease and desist letters, from my understanding, and neither one of them, both of them still continue to talk publicly about each other, from what I saw. Well, whether it be in chats, like I said, on my streams or TJV streams or wherever. I guess wherever anybody would listen, So on social media, on comment sections of videos, you name it. So on July 24th, 2021, Twitter user The Truth, suspected to be defendant, posted fabricated screenshots of messages from plaintiff to paint plaintiff as a predator using blackmail to obtain nude photos from minor females. Some examples of these fabricated messages are as follows. For a 15-year-old, you have a nice body. Oh, yeah, we remember this, right? These were those fake Discord DMs, which I don't know. See, suspected to be defendant. So you see here, not confirmed to be Delirious, just suspected to be. So we don't know if this was actually Delirious is doing or just somebody that really hated Ohm that did this, right? So you'll see as we go on in this filing, it'll say the ones that are confirmed, because we say they're confirmed because they're the ones that, like I said, that Liz Katz herself also confirmed in her video. So just to put that out there. You have to make me feel better now. You know the rules. Send the photos. No, actually send a video this time. I want to hear your moans. Moan my name as you finger your that. I will stop my it will stop my depression. I won't want to die anymore. Effing do it. Or should I send the other photos to your school? So I remember when these DMs were shared on Twitter or whatever, I remember Crow didn't cover them because Crow knew, yeah, they're bullshit. You know what I mean? They didn't really seem like Ohm at all. Not the way he talks, the way he types and stuff like that. And they seemed like they were probably more than likely fake. So that's why Crow didn't even cover them. That's why none of us even talked about them, because they looked, they looked fake. So nobody really ran with that, as far as I know. In terms of, I think TJV was the other one that covered it, and he covered it more as just like a thing to just in passing. But outside of that, I mean, nobody really. I mean, we all knew it was just, probably more than likely bullshit, right? It just didn't seem to fit Ohm's character. So at least the one that he's put out there publicly, right? On August 12th, 2021, Twitter user Birdwatcher confirmed to be defendant. Again, this is another one I believe that Liz Katz also confirmed in her video to be delirious. Allegedly, plaintiff uploaded P on a torrent site and people found out it was his. He then received phone calls and harassment stating the girl in the video was underage. On August 13th, Twitter Birdwatcher988 confirmed to be defendant. Posted the following: if you dig more into the sex tapes, where you'll find the alleged allegations that she was underage in the tape. So that right there, again, this could be the one thing that one of the biggest things, right? That could really hurt Delirious here, right? If he actually, shared that tape, that infamous tape of Ohm with people. Yeah, could you imagine if it was somebody that actually was underage? There would be so many legal ramifications for that, but I don't believe that that's the case. If there's a tape out there of Ohm, who knows, right? I can't say one way or the other. If it has somebody in it, I would hope for Ohm's sake that he would have been smart enough to not tape himself doing something illegal, but you never know. But probably not. And for all we know, it could just all be fake, right? It could be somebody completely different. Could be one of those, could be a tape that is said to be Ohm, but is not actually Ohm. Could be somebody else. You never know. You do know he also has an alleged allegation that he has a sex tape that was underage on a torrent website. Careful with who you defend. Upon information and belief on September 2nd, 2021, defendant emailed several popular YouTube drama channels from Susan Storm. Yeah, we all know about this, right? This Yahoo with statement: Ohmwrecker is sick, always has been, and he is so obsessed with people he won't leave them alone. Sometimes for over a decade, Ohmwrecker in 2003, 2005 was active on many unsavory forums, falsely implying plaintiff was on pedophile forums. In 2005, he was accused of making and threatening to use RP against his ex-girlfriend Goose. Goose was believed to be underage at the time. He was accused of using the photos and videos he made of her and spreading them on torrent sites. It says on October 18, 2021, Twitter user Pizza Pirate confirmed to be defendant was direct messaging plaintiffs followers the following. So this is another one that we know was confirmed to be, again, Delirious, as we saw in Liz Katz's video. So she did confirm that to be one of his. An image with plaintiff's face on a poster labeled anatomy of a manipulator and various descriptions of manipulative behavior. Statements saying plaintiff released a sex tape as revenge porn and saying the video appears to be real. Also, the Ohm sex tape is out there. Upon information and belief, Smith published the aforementioned post without privilege or justification. So this is where it gets kind of confusing for me, right? Because they're saying that they said that he did, that there was some kind of tape shared, but then they're saying like, he's still saying that it's out there. So, did he share something? Did he not share something? Maybe he did. Don't know. But at the very least, if he didn't, right? If he didn't share something, the fact that he was telling people to try to find something, not good. Not good for Delirious, right? If he was encouraging people to find a tape of Ohm having a sexual foray with somebody, not good. Even worse if somehow he was indeed distributing it, right? That would really get him into a lot of hot water. So upon information belief, Smith published the aforementioned post. Okay, defendant's aforementioned statements are falsely regarding plaintiff 1 having committed blackmail, 2 releasing revenge porn, having sexual relations with a minor, 4 uploading a sex tape with a minor, 5 having police reports against plaintiff for stalking, and 6 stalking defendant. Upon information belief, defendant knew or should have known that the aforementioned statements were false. So we'll continue on here. Upon information belief and aforementioned defamatory statements were made and published by defendant with actual malice, i.e. with knowledge that the statements were false or with reckless disregard for the fact that they were false. Twitter conducted its own investigation in several suspected fake profiles, and defendants' main Twitter accounts were banned and taken down for violating Twitter rules. So the interesting thing, right? Yes, you can argue actual malice, but again, if Delirious has good attorneys, they can probably argue the same, right? With some of the stuff that Ohmwrecker said publicly, that he has said stuff with malice too, right? With actual malice and the legal definition of malice, if not anything else. So Twitter conducted its own investigation of several suspected fake profiles, and defendants' main Twitter account were banned and taken down for violating Twitter rules. A representative of Twitter confirmed that several of the fake profiles were created by defendant. See, so this, I want you guys to really key in on this here, because this is important. A representative of Twitter confirmed that several of the fake profiles were created by defendant. Several, okay? Not all, right? Because that's been the narrative, right? That he was pretty sure that all these accounts, right? So that again, that's where again Delirious has the alt or has the out, and like I've been saying, right, in regards to the supposed most damning profiles, right? The one that made the threat has never been proven, at least that I've seen, and maybe there is something that proves that it is, right? That we just haven't seen, that might come out during discovery, that unequivocally proves that Delirious was that Ray Harpy account. But as you can see, not in any of these filings, right? This is the first filing, and the Ray Harpy account, right? The one that made the threat towards the baby and all that, not in here. It's not in here, right? The one that Ohm has said, he's 100% certain that's the one. It's not on here. So it's not to say that it's not possible that, it's completely possible that it might show up in some kind of later filing as part of discovery or something. But that's something I've been saying for a while, right? We've never seen anything that unequivocally proves that. So upon information and belief, defendant recruited his girlfriend and mother of his children, Liz Katz, to also target Laura on her social media platforms with the same disparaging and defamatory statements regarding plaintiff. Liz Katz is a model and former adult film actress with a large social media following. She has approximately 1.2 million followers on Instagram, 692,000 followers on Twitter, and 371,000 subscribers on YouTube. On November 8th, 2021, Liz Katz posted a YouTube video attempting to minimize defendant's behavior and confirmed that several of the fake profiles were created by defendant and used to target Lord, including Ohmlied, Birdwatcher, 989, 988, and Pizza Pirate C. And this is one thing that we criticized, right? Me and a couple others, I believe Crow and TJ, I think, might have also. It was not a good video. Liz Katz's video was not a good video. I don't think she ever should have made it. They should have just stayed quiet about everything, because that also gave Ohm something a little bit more to stand on. But again, it still doesn't unequivocally prove about all the accounts, right? Several is not many, right? So here we have on November 8th, 2021, defendant publicly commented on YouTube user TJV's live stream saying, "I want someone to go find Ohm's sex tape and ask Ohm about the police reports he received long ago for stalking." So again, this is where Delirious didn't really help himself, right? Doing stuff like this, which he did. He did do this, and he did do stuff like, I don't think he said anything like this on my streams. If you guys remember, he showed up in my chat a couple times. I don't remember if he said anything like this, but he would say stuff. Going back and forth with Ohm and stuff. They actually fought in one of my chats. They did the same thing in TJ's chat, I believe. And ask him about the reports he's received. Okay, from stalking. TGV has approximately 81,500 subscribers, and the live stream video has approximately 17,000 views. Now, mind you, what he said was in the live chat. I'm sure it's still there. If TJ had decided to edit that video, that live chat would have gone bye-bye. 17,700 views. It's not nothing views, but in the grander scheme of things on YouTube, It's hard to say how that would really affect much, um, especially considering it was done in live chat. And sometimes when people watch these replays, they don't really, a lot of people don't pay attention to the live chat replay. Some do, but plaintiff has never received any police reports for stalking and has never released RP and had sexual relations with a minor. On January 25th, 2022, Twitter user Delirious _not suspected to be defendant posted, defendant was only banned because he was showing people your past. But you, the internet Karen, reported him because you don't want people knowing your own past of being a racist and talking in pedo chats on old forums and releasing a S-tape with someone who wouldn't talk to you. The actions of defendants set forth in this complaint demonstrate malice, egregious defamation, and insult. Such actions or omissions by defendants were undertaken with reckless disregard of the falsity of the speech and its effects on plaintiff. The aforementioned defamatory statements published by defendant have caused plaintiffs to suffer embarrassment, humiliation, mental anguish, and severe emotional distress. Yeah, maybe, possibly, right? But again, Delirious has, a good lawyer. I would assume that he would argue the same, right? The aforementioned defamatory statements published by the defendant have also caused damage to plaintiff's reputation and character within his profession and industry, including but not limited to among his fans with prospective business relations, such as sponsors. So I find that to be interesting too, right? Because even though there was stuff said about Ohm, there wasn't this that I saw, at least, and I could be entirely wrong. But I didn't see this massive campaign, except for, a few people on Twitter, obviously, that hate Ohm, to try to cancel him, right? And we remember even when he went on Drama Alert, I would argue that would be a lot more effective, right? In trying to get the ball rolling on the cancellation of someone than just people saying shit on Twitter, But again, that's just my opinion. So the affirmation, let me see. The aforementioned defamatory statements published by the defendant have negatively impacted plaintiff's reputation, the streaming community, and deterred the streaming community from associating with him. See, it's hard to say how true that is, right? Because you got to look at Ohm's track record as well. Ohm has done stuff to alienate himself from people within the online gaming community. And this goes back to when he used to work for even a publication, I believe, right? An online gaming publication. It starts from there. When you think about, I think he's been in at least 3 different gaming groups, if I'm not mistaken, that he's been excommunicated from. So at one point, you have to look at that and consider that is it that everybody else has a problem, or are you the one that's actually the problem? Because the common denominator always seems to be Ohm. So again, it's not to say that there's not truth in some of the things he said. There could be a lot of truth. Some of it could be entirely true for all we know. The problem, I think, has always been that Ohm has kind of gotten in his own way and muddied the waters himself by the way he's handled a lot of these situations. I'm not saying that anything he's saying is true. Like I said, it's all within the realm of possibility that could be, just like a lot of it probably isn't. There's been things that he absolutely has gotten wrong that he won't acknowledge that he's gotten wrong. Things regarding Louis, obviously. I'm pretty sure some of the things even regarding Delirious, there's things that he's gotten wrong there. There might be things that he's gotten right. The one thing that I think remains the most consistent of all, though, in my opinion, and again, just from what's out there publicly, I have not seen him share anything as of yet publicly that 100% unequivocally proves what he's claimed. It's made, I will say that it's made, compelling, it's been compelling evidence, but it's the way he's handled a lot of it, right? the fact that he's always been coy too, when he's just like, well, I have something that 100% proves it. It's like, okay, cool. Well, can you show it? And then he's like, well, no, I can't right now. And it's just like, well, why even mention it? You know what I mean? It's just like either, nut up or shut up. You know what I mean? Put it out there, or why even bother mentioning it? Because nobody likes, the thing is, people, especially online, people are pretty simple. You show them unequivocal proof or something, or you show them something that is hard for the other person to argue, and they're probably going to be on your side, right? They're probably going to, at the very least, they're going to have more consideration for what you're saying. They're going to be like, okay, you got my attention. Now tell me a little bit more, because I'm interested to know what the truth is, right? But he always does this thing where he'll say he wants people to basically draw a conclusion. He's like, here's half of the story, right? Here's half the story. Now you draw your own conclusion from it. And it's like he's leading people to draw the worst possible conclusion for stuff. And that just does not work. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for a lot of people. And again, there could be stuff that is 100% true, but it's the way he's presented it and the way he's tried to lead people to come to again, in my opinion, to the worst possible conclusion of these situations. Instead of just showing something that's actually the smoking gun, that's just like, okay, wow, that I don't know how somebody's going to argue against that, because that looks pretty fucking damning. You know what I mean? So it's just, yo, TJ, what's up? TJ, if you want to hop in here, man, I can throw you a link. Just let me know. I'm just going over the filings. I have all of them. So we'll continue on here. In the meantime, let's see. The aforementioned inflammatory statements published by defendant have negatively impacted plaintiff's reputation, streaming community, deter the streaming community from associating with him. That, honestly, I mean, it possibly, but again, we have to also look at Ohm's own past, right? And that has to be considered in all this. As a result of defendant's conduct, plaintiff has lost many sponsorship opportunities and collaboration opportunities with other streamers. Many of plaintiff's business partners and friends now refuse to collaborate with plaintiff due to defendant's defamatory and degrading statements, which paint plaintiff in a light. So this is another one that, again, I think would be difficult for Ohm to prove. And the reason for that is Ohm's own behavior. We saw, right, with the Ritz Plays guy, where he hit the guy up and wrote him an essay about how disappointed he was in the guy, and how, oh, you're not acting like yourself. It seemed like he was trying to gaslight him in some instances. It's just like, and not just him. This is the thing. And I think, and I hope I'm not here. Actually, it'll be good for TJ to come on, because TJ can address this too. I'm going to send you through Discord DM, TJ. Hold on. I'm going to send you the link. Actually, no, I'll send it to you on Twitter. I'll send you through Twitter DM. Hold on. Let's get TJ on here, because TJ can answer this too. TJ will be able to answer this question. All right, TJ, I sent you the link. So while we wait for TJ, all right, I'm going to try to connect my headphones while we wait for TJ here, because I have speakers on right now. I don't want to get any kind of chilled. I have my ways, brother. I always find legal court documents, man. They're publicly available, man. You just have to, you'll have to pay for them, but let me, but I'll show you how to do it. It's a bit of a process, because there's only one site that I was able to get them through. And it was kind of a pain in the ass, but I can inform you on how to do it afterwards. Give me 1 sec here. All right. And here we have TJ.
Hello.
TJ.
What's up?
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Hold on, let me fix the settings here real quick.
All right.
Because, let me see. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Let me try to make sure that I'm trying to get them through the headphones because I have the speakers on right now, so I don't want there to be like feedback. Let me see. Where we at? There we go. All right, I think. All right, there we go. Speak now, TJ.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay. Why is it still going? Hold on. It's still going through the. Damn it. All right, hold on.
All right.
Hold on. Let me see now. Speak, TJ.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, see, it's not. Hold on. I can see that you're talking, but it's not. Let me fix this here. There we go. All right. All right, say something now, TJ.
Let's give a warm welcome to Toy Bounty
TJ,
Hunters.
hello.
I'm talking.
I'll just have to do it like this. For some reason, my headphones aren't connecting, so it's cool. We'll just leave it like that.
Okay.
All right. So I don't know if you can hear yourself. Can you hear yourself? Is it echoing or no?
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay. So what I was gonna ask you about was this part right here, right?
Yeah.
Where it says in the document, as a result of defendant's conduct, it obviously means Delirious. A plaintiff has lost many sponsorship opportunities, collaboration opportunities with the streamers. Many of plaintiff's business partners and friends now refuse to collaborate with plaintiff due to defendant's defamatory and degrading statements, which paint plaintiff in a false light. And what I was saying before was that I don't know how true this one's going to be because of Ohm's own track record and how he's dealt with people in the community. And one of the more recent examples was the whole Ritz Play things. Of course, you've had your interactions with Ohm as well, where he kind of does a pretty good job, I think, of alienating people all on his own.
Right. I think that if Ohm has evidence to prove that the whatever Delirious was saying and doing and revealing about him resulted in people refusing to talk to him or play with him or collab with him, certain sponsors refusing. If Ohm has evidence of that, then the statement could be true. But he's shown in the past that he's had falling outs even before all of this came out. He had falling outs long before this, and people have referred to him as that he's like the group hopper. He hops to different groups all the time, and some people were to say that people can't really stand him at all. So I think it would be pretty easy for Delirious to have to bring up other evidence, or other people just claiming in general that they just don't like playing with Ohm, not because of everything he's had the fight with Delirious and whatever Delirious has said, but just to prove his track record in the past. I don't know about this specific statement, but I'm sure this isn't like the biggest focus. I think he's probably more focused on being defamed, and all the fans turning on him and him being harassed and threatened. I've kind of read a little bit of the document, but
yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like I said, it feels like there's a lot that he's throwing at this just to see what sticks. I think the best case that he has, at least from me reading it preliminarily, is really the defamatory stuff. But even then, like I said, Delirious has a good lawyer and he plans on countersuing. He could kind of use pretty much the same argument, at least in terms of defamation, the stuff that Ohm has said about him.
The biggest thing will be the alt accounts, because that's somewhere where Delirious is actually screwed up, and it did seem very intentional, like he was like an angry little child trying to do it. And I think that's really what's going to bite Delirious, if anything. So I think Ohm has a really good case surrounded by that. I know Ohm and his lawyers are going to include a bunch of other stuff to see what sticks to the wall. But I think the thing that's going to stick to the wall is the alt accounts. I think Delirious is kind of screwed there.
Yeah, I think that, and the fact that he was telling people to try to find the the sex tape.
Yep.
He didn't do himself any favors there. I was like, this was probably gonna get him.
He talked about Ohm's private information. He openly tried showing his face around too. He was sharing the Kiwi stuff. He was trying, which that Kiwi thing involves a lot of information. And I've even read at a certain part of the document. I didn't really know much about this, but apparently Delirious tried spreading around his home address through like some of the alt accounts or whatever, or doing something like that. If that's the case too, oh boy, I don't know if Delirious is gonna have in terms of that. I don't think Delirious will have too much of a chance. But for the rest of the stuff, I mean, there could be plenty of things that Delirious could counter sue for as well, and we'll just have to see what ends up being the ending of all this.
I think one of the potential outcomes is, outside of just settlement, I think that what might be at play here is if Ohm is really intent on going to court, because Ohm, here's another thing too that I forgot to mention to the chat. Ohm wants this to go to a jury trial. He wants this to go to a jury trial. So if it were to go that far, right, to go to a jury trial, I think and this is, again, it's just speculation. I don't know this for a fact. I think that the plan would be, look, if I could take this all the way to court where I could get a jury to side with me and I win in court, that'll look good for me publicly, because even though it's not a criminal trial, it's a civil trial, but again, the way that people would perceive it, right? Like, this gives me credibility because I went to court and I won. The details don't matter. You know what I mean? It'll be, I won in court, so obviously the court sided with me because the things I was saying had more merit, and they thought so too. So that's why I won the case, right? Or the other thing could be, and there's been people, people have done this before too. He could just be trying to get discovery, because then he could just go ahead and take what he gets in discovery and win the court of public opinion by releasing it all online, right? Just being like, here are chat logs that prove what I've been saying for however many years at this point, right? Or he could at least paint a narrative, right? If he gets stuff that looks really, really damning, right? Because he's my understanding also is that he's been subpoenaing people, right? Or through his lawyers, I should say. He subpoenaed Twitter, and Twitter hit people up to try to get those communications. So if he's able to find something, right, that shows, not just the malice that he's saying, right, but shows, like, I don't know, like if he's able to get some kind of DM interaction between him and one of these quote unquote victims, right, that proves that they were underage when they were talking and stuff like that, and there's illicit things being said and mentioned, and he's especially if you get something where Delirious is essentially soliciting minors for like nudes or anything like that, then that's it, man. Right. That's a wrap. If you get something like that, you know what I mean? Then that would be one of those things. It's like, okay, there's good luck talking your way out of that one. Right.
Right. I also think that, like, Ohm has kind of a lot of his stuff in order, and I don't think for the vast majority of all this drama that's been going on leading up to this point, it's not so much that people have had a problem with, oh, he's lying about this, he's lying about that, XY, he's saying false things, he's just, trying to go after him. And maybe that's true. But I think the biggest thing was we all had a disagreement with his approach. So I think if this court thing were to wrap up in a way where, like, everything goes publicly, everyone's able to read it, Delirious is painted in a bad light, and Ohm wins the court case or whatever, there's still going to be that issue of Ohm addressing it after the fact, because I don't think his approach to it is something that people agree with. We all had issue with him going on Drama Alert and how he addressed things there. We've all had a problem with how Ohm has addressed things on Twitter and the amount of stuff he tweets, the amount of replies that he has. So I can just see him linking this court document around after this is all over to any naysayer and saying, look, I won, XYZ. So I think it's just Ohm's approach that most of the public's going to have an issue with after this. But I wouldn't be surprised if some people were like, oh, Ohm's right, and they start becoming more of Ohm fans. But hey, more power to you. I mean, I don't think any of us commentary channels have ever said people can't be fans of these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
worst we've said is being a fan of Mini Lad is a bad thing, but we haven't
Yeah.
said like you can't be a fan of Delirious, you can't be a fan of Ohm, you can't be,
Mhm.
you know, we've never really said that. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if this actually shakes up where Ohm gets a lot of fans, and Delirious might lose a lot. But I don't know how much this will really affect it. It depends on how public all this court stuff becomes. I guess you're
Yeah.
kind of kicking it off with this live
Yeah.
stream, and I'll
Well, I
talk
got all the
about it.
docs, man. I got them all.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got
and,
every single filing, bro. So
right,
I'm gonna be going over all of them. I had to like redact some stuff, obviously, because there's personal addresses and stuff like that in this. And I was just like, oh, gotta get
right,
that out of there. You know what I mean? Because even though it's public record, and honestly, it wouldn't technically be doxing. Again, it's, you know, because of YouTube's rules and how some of the parties involved might react. You know, I'm not trying to get my channel struck. I'm not trying to get my videos taken down or anything like
right.
that.
And
So,
you know a lot more about this anyway, so I think that your
mhm.
live stream here is going to be a very good template for a lot of other commentary channels to go through, because I don't know if everyone's going to pay for these records and everything and go through like trying to search for them and everything like that. I know Chilled Venom might want to later or something like that, but I think this live stream and the way that you're talking about it can really work. The only thing I can see it happening is if a lot of commentary channels are using this live stream as a template to look at the doc or whatever,
Mhm.
or taking screenshots of it or whatever the case may be. I can see all popping up having an issue because he kind of knows that you don't really, you're definitely really not on his side about things. But
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you can talk about it in a way where people can understand mostly what's going on. Even if Ohm were to win, I feel like you'd be able to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
So I mean, overall, I think Ohm can gain some stuff out of this, and I think it maybe is going, maybe all that money and all that sleepless nights for him are paying off a little bit right now. But whether or not this will lead to something where something sticks to the wall and he wins it, I mean, we're just gonna have to see what the court ends up saying. I
Yeah.
think, didn't I see that Delirious motion to have all of this label all this as like false or whatever, and that got denied or whatever?
Yeah, I believe. Well, I have to look through the docs because when I was downloading everything, I kind of skimmed through some of them, and I did see that there was. I will say this, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it's not the good news that people would think. Now, in one of the later filings, and you know, and I'll provide more context as we get to that point, but this will be a little bit of a spoiler for the future. So, what Delirious was able to ultimately do was he was able to um, get the motion to dismiss on jurisdiction granted. What that means is that he will not, if this goes to court, it will not take place in a court in Illinois. However, it doesn't mean that the court case was, even though they did try to file after the fact to get it dismissed entirely, it was not. What was dismissed or what was granted was the motion for it to be tried in
North
to not be
Carolina.
tried in Illinois and instead tried in North Carolina.
Yep.
So, you know, the venue, basically the switch of venue was granted. So if it does end up going to court after, you know, the hearings and whatever, it'll basically be done in Delirious's backyard. Is
Yeah.
essentially what will happen. Which, depending on whatever which I would have just, if I was his attorneys, I would have tried to just get it dismissed entirily. But they don't
I think
have anti-flap.
I
So
think I think he was trying to do that at
he
some
was.
point,
He
but
was. Mhm.
but it was like dismissed or whatever. And I think I found where the court where they're granting for his for the jurisdiction to be for the court
Yeah.
setting and everything. It's like the like Northern District Court or whatever of Northern Carolina or
Yeah.
something like that. But
So I would assume that the reason why his attorneys are doing that would be just to, I guess, you know, kind of give the home field advantage, right? Because, you know, Delirious you know, Cartoons obviously lives
yeah,
in North Carolina, and Cartoons would probably be a witness to this stuff. Obviously, Delirious's baby mama. He has,
yep.
you know, he has people at his disposal, witnesses that will probably, uh, put out their own declarations in this case, provide their evidence, things like that. If push comes to shove, and there needs to be testimony taken to court or in depositions.
Mr. Beast is in North Carolina. Maybe he's going to drop in and give
Yeah.
$500,000 out to the judge. You know,
You never know. Yeah,
yeah. It's
you
like,
never know what
hey,
can happen.
I'm gonna I got a inside the circle challenge for the judge in the courtroom.
There you,
You know,
yeah,
win $1
you
million.
never know. Anything could happen. So I think that's why. I mean, but it's kind of weird. I'm some of the, because I did see some of the filings that Delirious's attorneys made, which are a little bit quizzical to me. But that stuff that once we get to that point, I'll go over a little bit more. But like I said, there is some stuff in here that I could see where, okay, if Ohm's attorneys are competent enough and can make a compelling enough argument, and the judge perceives the stuff as having merit, there is some stuff in here that could be bad for Delirious for sure. Like you already mentioned, the stuff with, going behind the scenes to, directing people to find, the personal information. To me, obviously the one, telling people to find the sex tape, I'm like, oh man, shouldn't have done that, man. Should not have done that. Stuff like that. I'm like, that's going to be stuff that is, again, I'm not saying that Delirious is going to lose the court case, because at the end of the day, depending again on who Delirious's lawyers are and how much money he's willing to throw at this and prolong it, who knows how long it could take before it even sees the inside of a courtroom. But court cases like this can go either way. That's the truth of it, depending on the competency of the attorneys. The judge factors into it as well, what she's going to take into consideration, what she's going to look at and say, okay, well, this has merit, so I'm going to allow this to go through, and
what
all that stuff.
Quick question: when was this document put out?
This one, I believe this one was May of this year.
Okay, so I have a December 14th one. We're gonna have to retract something that we just said. On December 14th, there's another document. They ended up saying there's no compelling reason to disturb the plaintiff's choice of venue. So I think they're gonna end up not doing it in North Carolina. They're actually gonna do it in Chicago. I got a link for you if you want to look at it.
All right, I might have that. I just I have to look at it, but yeah, just send it through DM here, and I could take a look at it. But
I did through Twitter. But so apparently they won't be having it in North Carolina, as far as I saw in this document, real quick. I did not know. So apparently they're not going to have it in North Carolina. That they ended up dismissing it. So it's on the very last page or whatever of that document. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see it here. Okay, so this was filed. Let me see. Do I have this? I might have this, but I'm not sure. This okay on the 14th. Let me see. I'm looking over here. Well, okay. Yeah, I don't want to show it because I'm gonna have to redact names on here, even though again people at this point probably already know their real names and stuff, but damn, they say their names a lot in this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be too worried about removing names and stuff like that, because I think the names are kind of known.
Yeah, but you know who will be, he probably would try to like hit your video with a privacy complaint, because he's that kind of guy.
Ohm?
Yeah.
Oh, I have faith in him. He won't really care, especially with everything that's been out.
Yeah, even though it's a public, it's a public document, and like he's the kind of guy that would.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just screenshot all the information I need and then just black out the names and write Ohm over it or something like that. So.
Okay, this has some of the stuff. All right, hold on, let me see. I'm gonna have to like look into this a little bit more. It looks like, yeah, possibly. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see let me go to the end of it.
I didn't mean to hit you with like a mom.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
I'm looking it over now. Let's see. Oh, dang. This even mentions like Ohm's girlfriend. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redact this, man, because her name is in here too.
Yep.
So yeah, guys, this will be for a later stream. Like I won't be able to show it here because there's just too much. There's too many other people that are mentioned in it, and just for the sake, again, like I said, of just being a nice guy and not getting a privacy complaint on the streamer video for mentioning people, I'm gonna have to redact some of the stuff in here. Right. But we'll continue on with this initial filing though. But we will get here, people. Trust me. I'm going to try to get through all these as quickly as I can. But let me go back to this here. Okay, so we see the aforementioned defamatory statements published by defendant have negatively impacted plaintiff's reputation in the streaming community. Okay, as a result of defendant's conduct, plaintiff has lost many sponsorship opportunities, collaboration, and opportunities with other streamers. Now, what I was saying before with the tortious interference, right? this can go actually both ways too, because from my understanding, Delirious did lose some deals too because of the allegations made against him, and also my understanding. And again, I don't know this for a fact, but from what I've heard behind the scenes, Ohm directly involved himself in a contracted deal that Delirious had, which would be actual tortious interference. That's what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. That's from my understanding. That's what happened. I believe Ohm kind of had mentioned something to that effect too at one point publicly that he had. Of course, I could be wrong about that though, but he seemed to imply that he had done something like that, or at least that's what it seemed like. I'll have to find out for sure. But that's my understanding is that happened, and Delirious did actually lose a sponsorship deal allegedly because of Ohm's interference behind the scenes. And if that is true, if that turns out to be true, that would be actual tortious interference. So there's that. So we have this plaintiff has also lost a significant amount of subscribers, followers, viewership, and income due to defendant's conduct. Now, this is another one that could partially be true, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong here, TJ, but here's the other thing too that to factor into this. Now, prior to him even having a problem with or at least the public problem with Delirious, didn't he also have some issue with Terrorizer?
Yeah.
So I think that also has to be considered in this too, that he was already kind of on the outs with the crew and he was having issues with Terrorizer. And if you look at his social blade, which I'll bring up here too, because this is pertinent to mention. I'm going to bring it up on screen here. If you look at his social blade, and again, social blade it's not perfect, it is subject to is subject to error and stuff. But if you look at his social blade, right, this just kind of gives a general idea. His subscribership, from around 2020, right, had already been kind of steadily declining regardless. Now, the whole stuff with Delirious really kicked off last year in March of 2021 is when the shit really hit the fan. But if you look at his social blade from 2020, right, he had already been on the decline, right, going into this year. So, and it's not just on his YouTube channel, you know what I mean? Not just his subscribership and views were on the decline. But if you look at his social blade for like his Twitter account, it's the same also. It was kind of like on a bit of a decline. I don't think as badly, well, actually, not necessarily as badly as the YouTube channel, I think, but it was also on the decline too. I'll bring that up as well. So part of the stuff with Delirious probably factored into that, but I don't think as much as they're trying to lead you to believe, because he was already on a decline, as you can see here, right? Monthly game followers, he was already kind of on a decline. He really bottomed out here in May of 2021. And that was probably when things were at a fever
drama
pitch.
alert.
Yeah, when things were really at a fever pitch. Because this was a month right after drama alert. So, but then it kind of like, it started to go back up again, and it just kind of stayed, kind of mediocre and a little bit up and down. And so I don't know if you can really argue it's just solely because of the stuff with Delirious. Because I'm sure that, again, if Delirious has competent attorneys, they're going to look into all this information.
I mean, I think that it's, I think Delirious does play some sort of part into it. I don't think that it's solely on Delirious. Like, he's the only reasoning why, because you could technically go back to any commentary channel and say, oh, look they are talking bad about me. They're talking about me not in a good light.
Right.
So therefore I might have lost some subscribers here. And we don't truly know. We don't know everybody's action. I think on the May of 2021, there was like 30,000 plus subscribers lost or something like that on Social Blade, which is just, that 30,000, we don't know why all 30,000 of them unsubscribed. They could all be for different reasons. But I will say that I put out a video about Ohm before the whole Delirious and the drama alert. I put a video out about Ohm talking about his comments about Terrorizer and his beef with him. And Wildcat reached out to me to have me take it down because apparently they were going to try to work things out.
Yeah.
And if Wildcat's asking me to take that down, I mean, he knows that has some sort of impact on Ohm, and he doesn't
Yeah.
want that impact on Ohm if they're going to collab with him again. So technically, I had an impact on Ohm, and whatever that impact might be. I don't know if it loses him subs or anything, but that video was a lot bigger than what I thought it was going to be. And I don't know. I mean, technically, Ohm could go after me and say that I lost him viewership and subscribers and all this other stuff.
Well, you are mentioned in this document. You know that, right?
Yeah. Here and there. I don't know what I'm mentioned about, but I know I'm in this. But I will say that he could go after any commentary channel. Ohm could go after any person of the crew who has said one negative thing about him. But I think he's just kind of piling things on that Delirious has done wrong to him. And one of those things is, he did participate in me losing viewership. So I don't think Ohm, is as he doesn't care nearly as much about someone like me making a commentary video about him where I could talk good about him this day or bad about him this day or blah, 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 whatever, compared to Delirious, where he knows Delirious's intent was like, okay, yeah, fuck Ohm. Ohm's an awful person. So I think that's the biggest reason why it's mentioned in here. I don't think it's like an individual point that is going to be focused on too hard, I don't think, but I don't know. Delirious definitely has participated in that, I would say. But I don't think he's the sole reason why.
No, I don't think so either. And that's the thing. I think that's going to be that'd be another thing I think that would be pretty hard to prove, because the thing is, I think it would be a lot more. I think that might have a lot more merit if Delirious had made videos where he was directly attacking Ohm, videos on his channel with 13.3 million people. Yeah, that might be, but it was more, it was really tweets and him really getting into our chats. Remember, just getting into your chat and my chat and stuff like that. And obviously doing the gay ops behind the scenes with the, with the Twitter accounts. But again, he was already on a decline before that. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, if Delirious's attorneys are competent and, know their shit, that stuff that they're going to bring up too. It's just like, well, look, he was already on a downward trajectory, and look, you could see it here on his socials,
Right.
So
I don't know if Delirious is going to argue back with that or not. If he did, I think that would be the most logical, saying that, I mean, he's had public feuds with Brian Hamby, Terrorizer, and then he's had issues with Keemstar. TJV's made a commentary. There's been many commentary videos on Ohm before his public feud with him, and this has lost him that many subscribers. And then when I joined the mix, I only contributed to this. I shouldn't be, this should not be something used against me. So I don't know. Maybe Delirious has a case there, but I definitely do believe that Ohm's attorneys have a plausible case on, hey, yeah, I think Ohm, or I do think Delirious has participated in this heavily.
Sure. I'm sure they can make an argument. Let's see, as we go on here, we're almost through this, folks, just so you all know. As of this day, defendant has not issued any sort of retraction or repudiation of the defamatory and damaging statements. Plaintiff repeats and realleges by reference the allegations in paragraphs 1 through 71 is, if fully set forth herein, upon information and belief, by publishing and communicating the false allegations in the manner described above, defendant portrayed plaintiff in a false light, intending to cause plaintiff injury. Defendant intentionally intruded upon the solitude or seclusion of plaintiff and his private affairs and or concerns in this intrusion, which falsely portrays plaintiff as a manipulative, a predator, a pedophile, a criminal, and lacking integrity in his profession. Again, all things that the Delirious's attorneys could argue too. This portrayal of plaintiff is highly offensive to a reasonable person. Defendant's aforementioned statements are false regarding plaintiff: 1, being manipulative; 2, lacking integrity in his profession; 3, being a predator; 4, being a pedophile; 5, having committed blackmail; 6, releasing revenge porn; 7, having sexual relations with a minor; 8, uploading a sex tape with a minor; 9, having police reports against plaintiffs for stalking; and 10, stalking defendant. Upon information and belief, defendant knew these statements to be false or made no attempt to verify the veracity of any statements made regarding plaintiff. And that's fair. That would probably be true, because how do you really how do you really confirm any of that without any hard evidence, right?
Right.
Upon information and belief, defendant knew or should have known these statements would create a false impression about plaintiff and acted in reckless disregard of the truth. Again, something that could be argued for the defendant as well. Upon information and belief, defendant's false statements were generated and communicated with actual malice, total disregard for the truth, in the complete absence of any special privilege. Again, something that could be argued for the defendant as well. Defendant's statements were intended to criticize plaintiff as dangerous and to impute a want of integrity in plaintiff's profession and business. Defendant's statements placed plaintiff in false light in the community. Defendant's statements were intended to and have caused harm to plaintiff's reputation in the very tight-knit video game streaming community as a direct and proximate result of defendant's conduct. Plaintiff has suffered damages in an amount to be proven at trial. That'll be interesting to see what number they come up with then. Upon information and belief, defendant did not engage in any of the aforementioned conduct out of any sincere or proper motive or in any manner governed by reasonable and ministerial conduct according to any job duty, but did so knowingly, willfully, and oppressively with full knowledge of the adverse effects that his actions would have on plaintiff and with willful and deliberate disregard for the consequences. Accordingly, plaintiff is entitled to recover punitive damages from defendants in amount to be determined at trial. So that means, so minimum that you could that you have to sue somebody for in a case like this is $75,000. That tells me that he's going for, he'll probably be going for a lot more than that, or at least intends to go for.
I think it could be millions. I mean, I think he can try to suck millions out of Delirious. Whether how much, I don't know. But I do know that the court fees are not cheap. Attorney fees are not cheap. And I do believe that they're in a position where it could be anywhere upwards to like $10 million.
Here's just my prediction. This is just based on cases that I've looked at and covered recently. Especially if the Zero case was any indication. I think that the most likely scenario is that if the court finds that any of the claims that Ohm has made hold any kind of merit, even the most minute one, it'll go to settlement. I doubt it'll go to trial. I don't see any reason for Delirious to go that far and roll the die. I mean, he could, and he could still. It's not to say that he wouldn't still win, but you're already that would already give Ohm momentum going in. To have the judge see merit in some of the claims, and I would think that then his lawyers are really going to harp on the stuff that was found meritorious. So at that point, I would think that settlement would be on the table.
Okay, it might be on the table, but you got to think that whatever Ohm is like calling Delirious out for, I think Delirious is kind of doing the same with Ohm, saying that a lot of the stuff that Ohm has said has been defamation against Delirious, and it's been awful. So I honestly think that Delirious and his lawyers might go the route where they're going to want to countersuit, and whatever Ohm's going to be trying to get out of him, Delirious is going to try to get out of Ohm. And I don't know, maybe they're going to settle on something, and Delirious attorneys are going to tell Delirious that, hey, we better settle. But I don't know. I think this could go it could go through the ringer, and they could really go after each other because they're kind of suing for the same reasons. I mean, some of the details are different, but if they're suing for the same reason, neither one of them want to just put down their weapons and just like come to a settle. I don't think that's how they're going to want to do it, but maybe. I mean, I think it is smart to sit here and settle for something at least. Therefore, this doesn't have to blow up bigger than what it needs to be. And instead of paying this amount, you could be paying even more, or, like you said, the court of public opinion too. I mean, I don't know how this is going to end up if it doesn't end up a settlement. I mean, it could. Honestly, they both have reasons to go after each other. But I don't know.
If it gets as far as like depositions and things like that, I'd be really surprised if it did, because then that's when you're getting into territory where a lot of money is going to be spent, and I mean that's when you're basically getting into that phase of okay, these guys have firmly planted their feet into the ground, and it looks like they're both going to try to really fight it out. Not necessarily. I mean, there could still be settlement after even like depositions, stuff like that. But if it gets that far, it'll be interesting to see how far both of them are willing to go. at that point, if it's going to really go as far as a court trial and things like that. But the hearings will be pretty telling at first, because again, that will determine kind of what this, all this shit is going to be centered around. What the judge is going to find that holds merit. So it's like, all right, this cause of action holds merit. I'm going to allow this. I'm going to allow this. I'm going to dismiss this. I'm going to dismiss this. But this I'm going to let stay. So the hearings, I think that's what will really kind of give us an idea. And depending on where it goes from there, I mean, it could be a settlement beforehand, or maybe Delirious says, no, fuck that. This dude called me, all the same shit that I called him. You know what I mean? So it could be a thing where maybe the judge looks at it and looks at both of them as like, you're both idiots. This is the same shit. You know what I mean? You guys are saying the same shit about each other, and
I think there's enough there that it won't be the entire case won't be dismissed. But I mean, I do believe there's going to be a moment where the judge looks at this and be like, oh gosh.
Well, it's already, we're already, the fact that we're, see, if it was like I was saying before, because North Carolina doesn't have anti-slap, because that'd be another thing to file outside of jurisdiction, right? You would if it was a state that did anti-slap, which I don't believe there's any anti-slap in North Carolina, that would basically be another way to get the case dismissed on anti-slap, which essentially would be like them saying stuff publicly being protected under free speech, although technically defamation is not protected under free speech, but because of them being public figures and things like that, potentially trying to get it dismissed on that. But there's no anti-slap in North Carolina. So the best bet would have been jurisdiction, and it did. But again, depending on where it really ends up, now if it's true that it's going to end up in Illinois, that'll be interesting. Which if you see the beginning of this entire document, there's a lot of stuff where he's saying that, hey, this caused damages here in Illinois, and it's just like, I mean, you can't really. I mean, you live, Ohm lives in Illinois, obviously, but Delirious lives in North Carolina. And it's just like, we don't know that he practices any business in Illinois unless he's got a company out there that he goes out there to see and works with, or unless, like for the tortious interference claim, right, where he was saying that, hey, this affected my business because, he did stuff here in Illinois. It's like, well, no, he didn't. He's doing stuff online that's different, and he's residing at his home. I don't know how you can really argue that unless he was at a local business over there in Illinois, bad mouthing you or potentially talking to somebody you were in business with and saying, hey, don't do business with this guy anymore for XYZ reason.
Right.
Or at a convention where he was publicly defaming him, right? And saying, like, if he was at a panel at a convention like C2E2, which is in Chicago, and he was talking shit about Ohm and saying defamatory things about Ohm there, then you might have grounds there to say, okay, yeah, he was doing all this stuff in Illinois, because then technically he was.
Right.
So, but let me finish up here. Upon information, belief, action, admission, defendant set forth in this complaint demonstrates malice, egregious defamation, insult. Such actions or omissions by defendant were undertaken with reckless disregard of the falsity of the speech and its effects on the plaintiff. Plaintiff is entitled to general and special damages for the following: harm, emotional distress, and impairment to his name, character, and reputation. The foregoing result in a significant reduction in plaintiff's viewership, sponsorship opportunities, collaboration opportunities, and income. See, this is what I'm really interested in seeing, is how that's going to be difficult to prove, because there's going to be so many different factors that play into that. So that's going to be interesting to see how his attorney present that. Plaintiff requests an award of punitive damages and attorney fees beyond in excess of those damages necessary to compensate plaintiff for injuries resulting from defendant's conduct. Plaintiff requests an order permanently enjoining defendant and all his respective agents, employees, representatives, successors, assigns, attorneys, and all other persons acting for, with, by, through, or under authority defendant, or in concert or participation with defendant, from making, disseminating, broadcasting, or publishing any statements that plaintiff, 1, being manipulative, 2, lacking integrity in his profession, 3, being a predator, 4, being a pedophile, 5, having committed blackmail, 6, releasing revenge porn, 7, having sexual relations with a minor, 8, uploading a sex tape with a minor, 9, having police reports against plaintiff for stalking, and 10, stalking defendant. Additionally, plaintiff requests an order requiring defendant remove in full all posts and messages with defamatory and disparaging statements made regarding plaintiff. I don't think he has to worry about that because Delirious's Twitter's down. unless he's still doing it on his channel for some reason or in comment sections. Plaintiff repeats and realleges by reference the allegation in paragraphs 1 through 90 as fully set forth herein upon information and belief as set forth above. Defendant has intentionally falsely portrayed plaintiff as a pedophile, criminal, and lacking integrity in his profession, and this portrayal is highly offensive to a reasonable person. Upon information and belief, defendant knew these statements to be false. Upon information and belief, defendant made no attempt to verify the veracity of these statements made regarding plaintiff. Upon information and belief, defendant's false statements were generated and communicated with actual malice, total disregard for the truth, in the complete absence of any special privilege. Defendant's statements were intended and have caused harm to plaintiff's reputation and very tight-knit video game streaming community. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's conduct, plaintiff has suffered damages in the amount to be proven at trial. Upon information and belief, defendant did not engage in any of the aforementioned conduct out of any sincere or proper motive or any manner governed by reasonable or ministerial conduct according to any job duty, but did so. See, a lot of this is the same shit, right? They just, and that's the one thing I hate about court filings. They repeat a lot of the same shit over and over again for causes of actions and things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead here. Yeah, see, it's again, count 3 defamation. So yeah, it's going to repeat a lot of the same shit. Yeah, for each of the counts. So it looks, I think he has 5 counts: tortious interference and perspective. Okay, this is all right. This is a little bit different. Plaintiff repeats and realleges by reference the allegation in paragraphs 1 through 116 is fully set forth here. And plaintiff had a reasonable expectation of entering into a valid business relationship with various sponsors and other video game streamers. Defendant knew plaintiff had valid business relationships with notable sponsors such as Branded Entertainment Network Company, Ubisoft Company, Electronic Arts Incorporated, Epic Games Incorporated, and Warner Brothers Games. Defendant knew of plaintiff's expectancy to enter into such business relationships. Defendant was aware of that plaintiff expected such business relationships, as defendant is in the same line of business as plaintiff and is familiar with video game streaming business model and sponsorship process. Defendant has also worked jointly with plaintiff in certain streamers and sponsors in the past, including Branded Entertainment Network Company and Epic Games Inc. Plaintiff also informed defendant regarding his expectancy of his business relationship with the aforementioned sponsors. Defendant purposely interfered with plaintiff's legitimate business expectancies and prevented such relationships from ripening into a valid business relationship through his defamatory. See, this is not, I don't think this shit's going to go anywhere, right? Because they're not saying that he directly involved himself with any of those companies, that Delirious hit up any of those companies. It was like, hey, don't do business with Ohm. I don't care that you got a contract with them. Here's the deal. You know what I mean? This was stuff that he was saying of his own volition on, social media accounts, and just him just saying it out and not directly to these companies. That's why I don't think it's really going to go anywhere in terms of tortious interference. I think this is going to be one. I'd be really surprised if it did. But
number 126 there says that upon information and belief, defendant directly contacted at least one sponsor, several video game streamers, and many plaintiff followers with the affirmation defamatory and degrading statements regarding plaintiff. So apparently they're claiming that Delirious had a direct impact on at least one of the sponsors.
See, but the thing is, if they could prove that, that would probably be the only one. But as far as like the rest of them, that's the thing. It's just like, unless you have something that shows, like in writing or message or email, whatever, that he's directly contacting a sponsor. Because the thing is, what's not going to work is if he tries to show like one of those fake Twitter accounts, right? One of the ones that was not necessarily confirmed to be Delirious, hitting up a sponsor saying, hey, don't do business with this guy because of this stuff, right? Then, that's where it gets, again, unless they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that is Delirious, it's not going to go anywhere. Like the other ones, maybe with one, possibly, like if he directly contacted. But here's the thing, though, the way I read this, and again, from my understanding, is that Ohm, I believe, did the same thing, though. You know what I mean? I believe he contacted one of Delirious' sponsors. And again, hey, maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I've heard from pretty credible people on the inside, that he also did this too. So I don't know how far this is going to go, but like I said, I doubt it will affect like all the other ones that he mentioned. If he just has one would be enough for whatever dollar amount he would have lost in that particular sponsorship, and that's probably all he would get. You know what I mean? If they can prove just the one, and So let me see. So as a direct and proximate result of defendant's conduct, plaintiff has suffered damages in the amount to be proven at trial. Plaintiff is entitled to general and special damages following harm, emotional distress, and impairment to his name, character, and reputation. The foregoing resulted in a significant reduction of plaintiff's viewership, sponsorship opportunities, and income. Again, his thing was already on a downward trajectory. It's possible you could say that, yeah, his stuff with Delirious was a contributing factor in decline in viewership also, but he was already, again, still on the decline all on his own. So plaintiff requests an award of punitive damages and attorney's fees beyond and in excess of those damages necessary to compensate plaintiff for injuries resulting from defendant's conduct. Additionally, plaintiff requests in order permanently adjoining defendant all his respective agents, employees, or representative successors assigned. Okay, a lot of the same shit again. Count 5, intentional infliction of emotional distress, which maybe this is one that actually
this one could be argued very well, I think.
This one, because especially the way that Ohm acts very emotionally as it is, it's pretty transparent even when he's hitting people up online, that it seems like it's coming from a place of pure emotion instead of logic. Like that's why I believe he goes on these tirades where he writes people fucking essays and shit. So they might be able to make a compelling case for this. Plaintiff repeats and realleges by reference the allegations of paragraphs 1 through 131 as if fully set forth herein. As set forth above, defendant's conduct is extreme and outrageous. Defendant knew that the conduct inflicts severe emotional distress, or knew that there was at least a high probability that his conduct will cause severe emotional distress. At all relevant times herein, defendant was aware that plaintiff suffers from depression and anxiety disorders, including panic disorder with agoraphobia. Interesting. Didn't know that. Defendant was aware that plaintiff's career in streaming has enabled him to have a career while working from home. Now, that's one thing. I think this is one that, yeah, he could argue, because I know Ohm has not only been very open about it, but again, from the way he acts, it's just like, yeah, this dude's got issues. This dude's probably got issues. So right. I think they'll be able to.
I do got a quick question. And this it might be a little too broad for this certain section or whatever, but Ohm is trying to argue, about all the defamatory things and stuff Delirious has done towards him and the effect that's had. Do you think Delirious and his attorneys could make a case that Ohm openly entered that realm of being criticized and being called out the moment he came out about all these allegations about Delirious? Do you think that's a good case or a good argument for Delirious and his attorneys, that Ohm openly entered himself in this when he started calling out other YouTubers he played with? Or do you think that doesn't really matter at all?
They could because what they'll probably try to argue, I assume, again, this is, and I could be completely wrong about this too, but I would think that because they could argue that that Ohm is also a public figure, they would probably go that route of arguing it like, hey, look, he's a public figure with a fan base of his own that was talking about this openly. To, yes, our client has more has more followers, but he also has a substantial following as well, and he is also a public figure. Even if they try to say, even if they try to make it, just a limited purpose public figure, they could argue the same, like, well, he has a large audience too, and he was saying this stuff that was pretty defamatory and harmed our client as well in this regard. So they could flip it and argue it just the same. You know what I mean? It's just like he's got reach too, and the stuff that he says has had an impact as well.
Right.
So
and this is all on the basis that things that Ohm are saying is true. I mean, if a lot of the things that Ohm were saying about Delirious is true, and a lot of these allegations, all that, end up becoming true and all that stuff, then I think the Delirious's attorney and his side of his team, it would be a lot harder for them to argue defamatory if it ends up all being true. But having having said that, though, what I originally was asking you is, I don't know if that could be like a legitimate argument. That's like me saying, "Hey, I got criticized for something I said in a video, and this person attacked me. Like Crow's Judgment attacked me, and I'm going to go sue him for it." But I openly entered that commentary space where I talk about drama, and it's a norm for commentary channels to get a little bit of flack for their opinion or their takes on stuff or whatever. So I don't know. That's always been curious to me. I think that's where they might be able to argue back on. But like we've been seeing, like with Delirious and the amount of bad stuff he's actually done, I mean, that's kind of where Delirious is probably going to lose. But
well, like I said, look, if for whatever reason, right, if the plan from Ohm, right, if he doesn't want to go as far as drawing it out in court, or maybe he does, who knows, maybe that's the hill he's willing to die on, and he's willing to spend whatever just to get his arm raised in actual court, which I could see, maybe possibly. He seems like the kind of person that would go that far. He has gone that far before, right? The Voltage case many years ago. So I could see a scenario where he would probably be willing to do it again. Or if not, if it's just a matter of him just wanting to get discovery, so he could just take it to the court of public opinion, which I that could be his play, but given, again, and it's not to say for sure that he's going to react the same exact way, but if the past is any indicator of, I guess, Ohm's resolve, it seems like he would be more willing to take it all the way, just to get just to take it all the way through to court and actually have a trial to see if you could win there, or not. Or maybe, I mean, because here's the thing, if there's a settlement for whatever reason, that could also be viewed as a win too, depending on who settles for what, and what the stipulations are for the settlement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that could be perceived, optically as a win for him too, depending on what the stipulations of that settlement are. Right. So I guess it just depends. And like you said, you brought up a good point too. Like if it's proven, right, like if for whatever reason in discovery they find that, shit that he's been saying about Delirious, right, like any messages and things like that, like nobody's going to care about anything that happened in the past. They're going to look at that and say, oh damn, this is fucked up shit. Right. That's all that's going to stick with people. So that's what makes it interesting, is to see like what's going to come out of all this, if it even gets that far.
I definitely think that the outcome of the court is going to be very different than what public opinion has. I think it's going to be vastly different. I do think that Delirious will still have his followers after this, and I do believe the Vanoss crew will still play with him and everything. But I do think there's going to be a slight shift where this court thing and the outcome of this is going to like heavily impact interactions going forward in the future. And it might even prevent references to Ohm in certain videos and all this. It might stop No Glove making jokes about it. I mean, I don't know, but it definitely could.
If he so here's the thing, right? If it ends up in settlement, what I would think, well, and again, this is, I can't say 100% what it is that Ohm would want in the settlement. I would assume, obviously, it would probably be some undisclosed amount of money that he would probably want, and he would probably want Delirious to never mention him again. And
he might even want Delirious to make a retraction of almost everything.
Because it's Ohm, I would think that what he would seek would be for Delirious to make a public statement.
Yep.
And that he would also, expect him to retract on any platform that he still has anything about Ohm. Like basically, take it all down, never mention me again, make this public statement, and give me X amount of dollars, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And that'll be the end of it. And vice versa. I would assume it'd be the same thing. The Delirious probably, well, don't ever talk about me again, this, that, or the other, blah blah blah. It's over, and you go your way, I go mine. We never have to talk to each other again. None of that stuff I think could really extend to the crew, because they're not a part, unless they become a part of this lawsuit in some capacity.
I don't think it would like extend to them in terms of like what the court would order or whatever. But I do think that like this, because we all can probably assume Delirious is talking to the crew about this, and some people are curious. I'm sure Evan's kind of curious. I don't know though. But if at all the crew knows about what's going on in court between the two, it could prevent them from wanting to say anything about it at all. Because if Delirious ends up not winning this at all and they're making jokes about the court thing, that's just allowing the viewers to go try to look it up, find the result of it, see that Delirious is guilty of whatever, and that wouldn't be good. So I do think that the references and the jokes would stop, not because of not of fear, not of this, not of that, but more of they don't want to bring attention to it.
If of course,
because that's their friend, that's their business partner.
For sure. In that regard, I see what you're saying now. They probably wouldn't do it just, again, like you said, out of respect for him, and just like, hey guys, we could joke. If we joke about this stuff, it can't be in any of the videos. If we're just casually playing with each other and something like this comes up, please don't put this in any of your videos. Don't try to avoid just talking about it, because I can't talk about it. Right. I signed an NDA. I can't give any kind of details. Don't joke about it. Don't reference it, stuff like that. And they probably wouldn't, because again, it would hurt their bottom line too. I mean, obviously, they're not going to do anything that affects their finances. Just to crack a joke about it, I would think. But you never know. I don't. I'd be very surprised if it goes all the way. But like I said, given Ohm's past track record, I could see a scenario where it does go all the way, or at least as far as Ohm can conceivably take it, right? Yeah. Because you heard about his other court case, right? Do you know anything about that?
We
already know about that. So we don't need to. That's not territory we need to go into then. But let me see if I can try to finish this up here, because we're almost there. Look, page 20 of 24, folks. We're almost to the end. We've almost made it. Let me see. Okay, defendant was aware that plaintiff's career in streaming has enabled him to have a career while working from home, despite knowing plaintiff suffers from debilitating anxiety. Defendant began a malicious campaign to damage and destroy plaintiff's reputation and career and to cause him severe emotional distress. Defendant has engaged in outrageous behavior, including but not limited to promoting harassment and stalking of plaintiff and persons related to plaintiff to his 4.4 million Twitter followers, falsely accusing plaintiff of being a pedophile, criminal, and lacking integrity in his profession, and taunting plaintiff publicly regarding his anxiety disorders. Upon information and belief, defendant encouraged his fans threats of violence against plaintiff, and even repeatedly assisted his fans getting access to plaintiff's home address. So the threats of violence, I have not seen anything to that effect, even implied. This, though, however, repeatedly assisted his fans in getting access to plaintiff's home address, not on his main account, but on those other accounts. He did do that by sharing the Kiwi Farms link and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's one of those things that's going to kind of mess him up. And maybe depending on how they argue it, depending on how his lawyers decide to argue it, they could possibly make it seem, they could portray it like, hey, wink, wink, nod, nod. This is what he was doing, right? And
there was that GTA video that came out where apparently Delirious was playing GTA and said this person should be, and he was about to say the word shot. They could have that too, because I do know Ohm knows of that clip. And I do know that they most likely could be using it, saying that's clearly a reference to them. Now, it's not exactly listed here. They could just be showing a lot of that evidence at the trial and everything, but I don't think that's unreasonable, saying that he encouraged fans of violence and threats of violence. I mean, Delirious going online to say whoever wears this should be shot and referring to Ohm for that. I mean, and then the Kiwi Farms, the home address, everything. I don't know. It's not looking good for Delirious. I don't think
they could try. Yeah, they could probably try to make it like, that it's an implied threat possibly, but even then, like I said, that'd be hard to prove with just like a clip like that. I mean, but who knows? Yeah, but the thing is, like I said, what kind of screws Delirious is the paper trail he left behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the accounts, that to me is where he really messed up. As a result, plaintiff has received threats of violence against himself, his dog, and his girlfriend. His dog too. One of his defendants' followers even stated that he was contemplating if it was worth going to prison for going after plaintiff. Defendant's behavior and portrayal of plaintiff is highly offensive to a reasonable person. Plaintiff has suffered severe emotional distress due to defendant's aforementioned conduct. Defendant's conduct is a direct and proximate cause of plaintiff's severe emotional distress. Defendant's conduct has significantly increased plaintiff's depression, anxiety, and symptoms from the disorders. Plaintiff has also suffered intense feelings of humiliation, despair resulting from defendant's conduct. Plaintiff now is in constant fear for his safety and safety of persons associated with plaintiff. Plaintiff now rarely leaves his home due to his increased anxiety and fear of his safety. Plaintiff's ability to sleep has been impaired to an extreme degree, with plaintiff being unable to sleep occasionally for several days at a time. Plaintiff's severe emotional distress caused by defendant's conduct has also impaired his ability to work and post content as frequently as he did prior to defendant's attacks on plaintiff. And I think that might, they might be able to adequately show show that, because of, I think Ohm has kind of slowed down on his and either by design, because he knew, because of this case, either he's doing it intentionally, or due to the stress. It's possible to argue it.
I do think Ohm has a good case here too, saying that his frequent or his decline of uploads and stuff like that is directly caused by, I wouldn't say just from, this is similar to the other thing where like it could be the drama alert thing and the fan reaction to that and him having to whip up. I mean, there could be many things why he declined in uploads, but I do think it's because of all this drama why he declined in uploads, and going after Delirious and having to talk to attorneys and all that has declined significantly. Uploads, his stress, how late he has to stay up every night, all the research he has to do, all the evidence technically he has to gather and stuff like that, because a lot of it might already be on on Ohm's computer or whatever. I do think this is it, because in a normal job setting, if you were to be like, if something like this were to happen, they kind of have like paid time off built in and everything like that, but YouTube doesn't really have paid time off or any of these extra benefits or anything. If you were to get hurt, that your job would still keep you on until you recover and you could go back to work and everything, and you're getting paid a certain amount to make sure that you can recover well and all this other stuff. But when it happens online and it's sort of in the setting where they work and stuff like that, maybe the best way to handle that would be to gather your losses during that. So they would have to, I don't know if they would look this deep and go look at the revenue from when he uploaded the least amount compared to the most amount and find an average or whatever. And then that's how much he could have lost during this whole thing. I don't know. I do think this plays into the whole, what Ohm will be getting out of Delirious in terms of a settlement.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking at his YouTube right now. It seems like he's been frequently uploading, but there was moments where it seemed like he wasn't uploading as much. So I'm looking through it a little bit. There was times where it was a little bit sporadic, but so
I mean, it also goes to Twitch as well, because Ohm's a huge Twitch streamer too. And if I know he wasn't streaming that much over there because of a lot of what the fans were doing. I mean, it was a lot harder for him to stream on Twitch, and that is a source of income for him as well. That's so, I think this is a good argument, honestly. I know people don't want to hear that Ohm is right about things, but I do think he has a good case here about this for sure.
Yeah.
But like I said before, it could be from a matter of things. I mean, his fight with Terrorizer did cause a little bit of issues. The drama alert thing, his argument with Wildcat and other people, a lot of things caused him not to upload. So it ain't just Delirious.
Well, even that, and you got to look back, like I said, and we were talking, and I was talking about this before you had joined. You got to look back into his history as well. That he's been, I think when he joined the Vanoss crew, that was like the third gaming group that he had joined, right? So he had a track record of being excommunicated from these groups prior to, and it's like I said, the common denominator seemed to be him. You know what I mean? So that, again, does everybody else really have the problem, or are you the problem? That's what you got to look at there. So it's just like, I think all that factors into everything as well. So let's see. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's conduct, plaintiff suffered damages in the amount to be proven at trial. Plaintiff is entitled to general and special damages for the following: severe emotional distress and impairment to his name, character, and reputation. Foregoing result in a significant reduction in plaintiff's viewership, sponsorship opportunities, and income. Plaintiff requests an award of punitive damages and attorney's fees beyond the excess of those damages necessary to compensate plaintiff for injuries resulting from defendant's conduct. Additionally, plaintiff requests an order permanently adjoining defendant and all his respective agents, employees, representatives, successors, assigns, attorneys, and all other persons acting for, with, by, through, or under authority defendant or in concert or participation with defendant from making, disseminating, broadcasting, or publishing any statements that, well, we already know this. It's the same thing as before. And let me see, as well as ordering, defendant remove in full defamatory, disparaging statements regarding plaintiff. Wherefore, Ohmwrecker respectfully requests that honorable court enter judgment in favor of Ohmwrecker against Delirious and enter an order awarding plaintiff damages and amounts pertaining to each determined trial, but not less than $75,000, including general, special, consequential, actual, statutory, and punitive damages, awarding attorney's fees, court costs, and expenses incurred by Ohmwrecker connection with prosecution of this matter, permanently enjoining defendant and all his respective agents, employees, representatives, successors, assigns, attorneys, and all the persons acting for, by, through, or under authority, defendant or in concert and participation with defendant for making, disseminating, broadcasting, or publishing any statements that plaintiff, again, same stuff as before, ordering defendant to remove in full all posted messages with defamatory and disparaging statements made regarding plaintiff, awarding such other and further relief as is equitable and just. Jury trial demand. Plaintiff hereby demands a trial by jury on claims for relief and issues triable by jury respectively submitted. That's Ohmwrecker there, and that's it. That is the end of this first document. We got through it, folks. We did it. So that's just the initial filing. The next one I'll be going over will be, and I'm going to try to see if I can do an earlier stream tomorrow to go over the Delirious's, his attorney's response to it. And then, from time to time, like I said, I'll be going over all these filings and to the point where we're, up to date with everything. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here because it's been long enough. We went over by about 10 minutes, but I want to thank TJ for stopping by to join and give us his take on the stuff. TJ, you're welcome to join in a future stream too if you want to go over some of this stuff as well. But I'm going to go ahead and end it here, folks. I appreciate each and every one of you joining. Thank you, Devin, for the donation earlier. You are the stream mommy. I appreciate you. But yeah, we'll be back again soon, folks. Just pay attention on Twitter. I'll be posting when I'll be doing all this stuff again. So you all have a wonderful night. And we'll catch you on the next one.